We're going to now talk about something really important. We've talked about all kinds of things, how we need to really think about water science, how we need to think about the new federal rebates, and how we provide more energy efficiency, how we build with more resilience, how we can provide smart home features to our clients at no potential additional cost to construction. We've had all these great ideas. But I also know there's a hesitance of any builder going, yeah, but we're going to add all this stuff. How do we get paid for it? So we're going to kind of transition from telling you about new technology and new ideas and new products and all this kind of stuff. We're going to transition to the important part, which is how do we sell it? And more importantly, how do we make sure we get paid for it so that this becomes actually a net positive to us, not just another thing that we have to do. And for that, we have a super special guest for us, probably the most qualified person we can think of in the country to talk about this, Jennifer Cooper from Evolution Marketing. And she is going to be our sole panelist because you don't need another panelist. You need to hear from Jennifer. You need to hear her message, and she's going to deliver her message. And I'm sure I'll pine on it. Unfortunately, Jennifer, I'll probably have a few things to say during.
I hope you do.
But before we get started, what we are really talking about is being value-added seller versus just selling a commodity. And by value-added seller, there's a general process to how you go about value-added selling. You don't have to like this particular model, but all the models are basically the same. And the important part of it is to really understand your targeted market, to understand the buyer that's coming in, to listen to their needs, and then express how you can solve their problems and why they're willing to pay for it. And it's kind of interesting. You look at the statistics on salespeople and their success and what percentage of their pitch is listening versus what percentage of their pitch is talking. The most successful salespeople listen more than they talk. And the reason for that is they don't have a generic pitch they're going to push on you. They first want to hear from you to figure out who you are and what you value and what you need, and then they're going to adjust their pitch, and they're going to sell you your product in their value system and on their terms. So very important kind of change of philosophy. And of course, value-based topics and discussions then lead to more next steps, far more than the traditional, hey, why are you here? What are you looking for? Blah, 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 how can I help you? Right? That's not value-added selling. But if we kind of show this model, if you think about value-added selling, you're trying to get to a unique selling proposition. And I have these three spheres of influence. It's what your customers need and care about. So there's a whole set of things that they care about. And not every customer cares about the same things. That's why you have to listen first. That's why you have to engage them in dialogue to figure out, do they care about the schools? Do they care about energy savings? Are they worried about budget? Right? How do you frame how you build, right, for them? Do they care about toxins in the home and raising kids? Well, you can sell your outgassing, and you can sell a lot of issues that you have with air quality in your home. Then you have what you do and what you can do well, and there's an intersection between what they care about and what you do and you do well, and these are the things that we need to learn how to sell. We need to learn the stories. We do them, and they care about them. And then you have the things out the bottom is what you can explain and demonstrate. There's lots of things that you do, but we don't have good stories of how to demonstrate or how to explain them. So the triple point is things they care about, that we do, and we know how to talk about. And that's the very center of this. That's the unique selling proposition. And the other three fields are kind of interesting. The other three fields are things we either need to learn how to do or learn how to explain and sell, or perhaps we need to actually back off and spend less of our time talking about it because it's not important to the customer. So it's kind of the basic model, and you look at what we went over in the last few days here. We talked about flow guard, that water testing and plumbing material selection can avoid a really expensive crisis for home builders. That's an important story that if they knew about it, they'd care. So there's some education involved that you have to have so that they understand the problem, they understand why you're different in your value proposition. We learned from Ream that water heating technology can put more money into their monthly budgets and even send their kids to college. We learned that installation products can reduce the cost of home ownership, and the government has made it really easy and more affordable for some of this kind of stuff. Levin and Deco told us that we can add technology to make homes a better way to live in without breaking the bank, and that we can unlock the affordability of some of this smart home stuff. So with all of that, I want to give you one example. It's kind of my favorite examples. In Japan, manufactured homes actually drive a premium over stick-built homes. And of course, it's just the opposite in the United States. Manufactured products are generally less expensive per square foot than stick-built homes. And the reason for it is they put a lot of research and development into the product, and they put a lot of marketing into the product to explain to people that they have developed a superior product. And you can see that in some of their online activity. This happens to be Sekisui House. They talked about perfecting the home. Look, this is in a factory environment. People are wearing hard hats. This is a laboratory. They're building homes. They're putting them on earthquake shakers. They're putting them in temperature-controlled chambers, and they're testing all the components. They're trying to convey that this is not just some random assortment of building material that's dumped on a lot and we happen to build a home, but this is a highly engineered product where millions of dollars are spent on testing and design and certification, and this is passed on to consumers. And I'm not going to bore you with all of this, but this is the messaging that is used in Japan to make people value this system way more than a traditional kind of stick-built system. And it all results in a Shawwood, and when they go to market, they then bring a different sales message. And one of their sales messages is, oh, by the way, our homes have a 30-year structural and waterproof warranty. Now, I ask you, in your market, does anybody in your market offer a 30-year structural and waterproof warranty of their homes? Okay? So what they're saying is all of this work we put into it adds value, and it's all for you, and we build a better product, and they're able to demonstrate that. And then I'm going to end this whole thing on a television ad that Sekisui runs in Japan. And I think it's kind of clever because it kind of hits at the very core of this of just how strong. In Japan, they're in a high seismic area. Earthquakes are a really big deal, obviously. So structural integrity of the home's important. So this is one of the ads they run on television. That frame that says this is a Sekisui frame. It can hold 4.6 tons, so this elephant's walking on top. And then they lower a bulldozer on top of your home at 13 tons, right? Just showing the incredible engineering. And you kind of look at this and go, oh, this is hokey, this is stupid. But it makes you go, wow, my home's going to be, like really strong, right? I mean, this is a really highly engineered product. It's a really great product. So I think we need to think about some of these things, and I hope I haven't completely contradicted you, Jennifer, in what you want to talk about. But this is how I wanted to tee this up, that we need to learn to tell stories. We need to learn to tell stories that matter. To learn to tell stories that matter, we need to listen to our customers and understand what they care about. And if we know what they care about, and we build products that satisfy those needs, and we can tell stories about that, then we can sell our product for a higher margin and a higher value, and we can recoup the benefits. So with that, I am going to turn this over to Jennifer Cooper, and she is going to take you
or sitting?
You're going to take us on quite a journey. So I'm going to sit here and drink water while I watch.
I might stand then because I've been sitting a lot.
You can do that and walk around. You can.
So going back to that Sekisui list with everything, why would we do all those things and then not talk about it and just say, here's the house, right? So they're talking about it. So yes, I'm Jennifer Cooper. I'm a fractional CMO. I spent about 25 years, most of that in home building. I've been in other industries, and I've had the blessing and honor for being a CMO for several large national and regional builders. Over the last 4 years, I took my business into my own hands and became a fractional for home builders and service providers across the country. So just doing what I love to do with builders, but now I work with many builders, so super fun. All right, so let's just talk. The whole premise of today, there's how do we sell a home with better bones, and really talk about those features. That's why we're here, about innovation, right? But the other thing that we can't dismiss is that we have more and more resale homes about to be coming on the market. There's a bit of a sleeping giant theory out there. I'm sure you've heard of this, where a lot of people are waiting. I'm not going to move yet. Rates are good. I don't have to move. But when rates maybe get to a place that it's going to cost a little bit more movement, now the political thing is we know who our president is, we might start to see some different movement out there. So more resale is going to flood, which means we have to get better at selling what we're building. A lot of our sales teams and just our overall philosophy is We're building for a need, so all we need to do is go out there and put on the market. So we have to really start thinking about how to differentiate our product, new versus used. That's what we're talking about, but then also what makes those structures better. So some things we think about are our materials today are more superior. I know that's what a lot of this conference is. We've got more R&D, a lot of new material options that we didn't have 20 years ago. We have more production efficiencies, more opportunity for reducing waste. There's a whole storyline depending on how you build your house with less waste, as some builders do. Thinking about how do we have more built-in efficiencies like appliances, how we're using insulation. And home technology is one of the growing things. And home has functions. It's not just bricks and sticks. Let's talk about the functionality. We don't just buy a house and then go sit in it, right? We're not just sitting in a corner. We're having experiences. We're having new expectations out of that home. So we really have the opportunity to raise the bar and say why a new home is so much more superior than a resale home. So why not market at all, right? We don't want to just market the sneakers. Let's talk about why the sneakers are so great. So let's go ahead and set the stage, and how do you meet the buyer in the process? So I'd like to say we're living in a new material world, right? And I did like the old Madonna song. But there's new things that matter to us, right? Now we're living in a technology world. We're living in a customer and experiential world. Lifestyle does matter, so looking at all of those things, we have new expectations in technology as technology is evolving. Consumer expectations in floor plan and design are changing because there's more information, there's more media being absorbed by people out there telling stories about how a home should live and what are some of these products. On-demand experiences are highly, highly desired because of our post-COVID world. And then we have to think about who's teaching who. So social media right now is king. So if you're not, as a builder or working within the builder world, not teaching your buyers who out there is it your competition? Is it an influencer? Is it someone giving the wrong information about the building industry? The media is always influencing us as well, so influencing our buyers. So we have to think about how are we teaching them? What are today's rates? It's the biggest thing right now is talking about rates. What do rates actually mean? A 20, 21-year-old doesn't understand that the rates aren't as high as they've historically gone, right? So we have the opportunity to create that education. And then we have influencers. Guess what? We can all be one. If you leave a rating on Yelp, if you leave a digital review, you leave a Google review, we all have the opportunity to influence another decision. So home builders have to be watching that. That's different. You may not have a rating on a resale home. So it's something we have to manage. We have to manage our brand reputation, where a resale home is a one-time opportunity to maybe take a buyer and make them look the other way. And all in all, we just have to look at that opportunity for more education around design, around style, around our floor plans.
Your point's probably no better made. There's a home inspector in Phoenix that has an Instagram channel, and he specifically shows all of the homes, that he inspects and how bad they are. And, it's Heritage and KB. Yeah. I mean, it's all the big builders. And the response from the builders has been to sue him, which of course completely is backfired online because now everybody is watching this guy and all of his reviews. Right?
So I'd say prove him wrong.
Yeah.
And figure out how to make a better home and market those things, right? Really interesting, though. So selling in 2025, I know Tim and I agree on this front, is think about a retail storefront marketplace. So when I work with a builder, I go in and I tell my sales team, you're now responsible for $1 million storefront. It's not just the price of the home, it's the price of the sales office, it's the price that it's got to sit on my books until I move it from being a model and I sell it. You are in charge of $1 million storefront in a multi-million-dollar community. How are you going to own it? When you position it that way, it's not that I'm just walking in, walking into that office, that daily job to take orders. I'm in charge of $1 million storefront. It puts a lot of ownership. I tell my marketing teams the same. You're in charge of helping market a multi-million-dollar storefront in a multi-million-dollar community. And I said that the other day to one of my 24-year-old marketing coordinators, and her eyes lit up. She was like, that really means something to me. She's like, no, I never thought of it that way. I just thought of it. I had to go in and make sure the signage was there. So it's changing the tape in our head about why this is important. It starts there. Today's consumer does not want to be sold They will come ready with their wish list. We know that. Regardless of age, nearly all buyers are starting their search online. I think I've finally heard that at this conference, about 100%. We're now saying 100% of all searches start online. They want flexibility in communications and the means, and the COVID consumer traits remain. So we all changed our behavior just a little bit since COVID. We now are saying we can do more with less interaction, do things on my time, can do things on my terms, and how you show up digitally matters. What am I expecting from your storefront, from other buyer experiences? I've been crafting my own judgment and perception and expectation quite a bit over the last 4 years as a consumer. Most have. So standards that still have sticking power, I think these are important for us when we're thinking about selling used versus resale and thinking about those components, is that the buyer, these are hierarchy of needs that I learned many years ago, and I really champion my marketing around that, is the buyer, if they do not find a location that works for them, they're not gonna stair step any further with you. I've got to be able to live where I need to live. Now, affordability issues are pushing the parameters of that, but there still is that ideal place where I want to purchase a home. Then second, I'm going to decide on price. If I can't afford it, I'm not going to go any further with your product. I may daydream about it, I may really want it, but if I can't afford it, I'm not going to go much further into the process with you. So all the marketing needs to really champion location, price, and product. Where resale, they're getting an agent, the agent's saying, hey, can we maybe move you a little bit, $20,000, $30,000 on the price? They're talking price, they're talking price, they're talking price. We have the opportunity to build a relationship on location, affordability, and then let's talk about how great our product is, because we want to get them something they can actually afford. So really working with your sales and marketing teams around that philosophy. And then what customers remember, they're going to remember world-class service, relationship-first mindset. They're going to know if you're taking them seriously in the transaction. Ease of processes and the art of follow-up, making sure that we're creating all those great communications that we can as a home building company. So old school versus new school, some of these things have been talked about over the last few days. But what's old school is, just go through the list. It's order taking, it's a lot of paper, clunky websites, lack of a trained sales staff, lack of integrations, black and white renderings. We do not want those. Lack of virtual experiences, paper contracts only, selling off price alone, no OSC or online sales team, no CRM. This is still a very big problem that I'm still seeing, or it's not defined quite well. Repeat model merchandising design, not having having too much consistency so that everything looks the same. And then tours only by appointment. People still want to see people on occasion, so make sure we have a lot of options for touring. What the new school mindset is concierge. Really think about how we're going to create a relationship and a bond differently than maybe just an agent. Agents will create relationships as well, but we really need to own those relationships on the new home side. OSC, online sales team, synergies, CRM management, superior viz tech, so visual technology, digital contracts, self-touring, that was talked about a lot. An app for that mindset. How can I be readily available on a cell phone? Targeted model home design, we're going to talk about that later. Brand experiences, cross-selling vendor partnership mindset, sticky websites, hunger for data, digitally focused. That's where all our money's going to go. Internal R&D teams to keep improving and planning to sell online successfully. I mean, when you read through that list, did I miss anything?
There's a million things, but that's a pretty good list for you to start with.
Yeah, there's definitely other things, but sales and marketing, real quick things that just top of mind, where we've gone, and honestly, COVID helped push some of these things more to the forefront. So effectively, marketing structural innovations, as part of the conversation is how do we market the better bones? It starts with how are we going to communicate that? So I always say, don't assume the consumer knows how homes are built. So one of my favorite questions when I go and work with a new builder is I'll go to a salesperson in their model and I'll say, how are you different? And they always like, huh? Well, how is this home superior? How is it built? And they don't, I'll tell you, most of the time I don't get an answer. They'll say, well, we've got energy efficiency appliances, and I think we've got extra insulation in the attic. I'll get something very generic. And I say, okay, well, we need to pull this back a little bit more and understand understand how your installation's different, or understand how is your home built to energy efficiency code. And they'll say, well, everybody has to do that. But I always say the customer doesn't know that. The customer doesn't know anything about 2x4 or 2x6 construction, or they don't know about spray foam, or they don't know about extra attic insulation. They don't know about all of the different pieces of a home. Help show them. One of my favorite examples, when I was working with a predecessor and she was running me through her demonstration of a home, she showed everybody how to use the threshold. She demoed it. She goes, why not demo it? She goes, did you know that this adjusts up and down so that it helps with the ceiling of your front door? I said, I always thought it was just cosmetic. It was just there. So again, and she said, I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 customers don't know that you can adjust it, and that's why it's there. So it's really looking down to, don't assume that the customer understands what energy efficiency means, that they understand how your home is built. Even if it's following a code, they don't know code. So getting back to the
other thing, Jennifer, is there's always two how are you better stories. One is, why are you better than the used home market?
Yeah.
Do you really even know the used home market? How old is the average home, right?
Yeah.
In your area, right? Right? Oh, well, they're all built in the 70s. Oh, well, wait a minute. You can compare yourself to 1970s homes. So one message is how do you compare to the used market, right? And the other one is then how do you compare to other new builders?
Yep.
And those are two very different stories, and you got to be good at telling both of them.
Yeah, and we don't know what's in the bones of these older homes either, is the unknown with the warranty situation, right? Also looking at knowing how your competitors build is super important. If you don't know, maybe go ask, go shop them, find out how they're saying the house is built, right? Consider how you'll train and talk the talk as both the sales and marketing team, having a lot of cohesion between what we're pushing out in an email or what we're putting on the website, and that the sales team can talk the same talk. So I typically say have sales and marketing run through sales demonstration training together. There's no reason that only one department should have that answer and be able to, we all need to be able to speak to it. And then I have a Be Our Guest philosophy, and having a hospitality mindset really can help you elevate your experience as a builder. So the guest philosophy is starting with greet, understanding, explaining, citing, and taking. Oh, sounds a little extreme, but when you greet, you're building, you're basically, every time you're having a conversation with a new prospect, you're thinking about how you're going to establish rapport and walk through the builder story and the lifestyle story for that home, that community, and how your builder fits in. And then it's understanding what your buyer is looking for, looking at the needs, looking at, have you looked at new and used? What did you like? What didn't you like? Are you still maybe even considering used? Having those conversations so that you can understand how you're going to position all your pluses versus maybe the minuses of the resale world. And then remind them, if you're in the new home side, are you missing warranties, personalization, quality? Do you really know how that house is insulated, or its roof quality long term, and the energy efficiency, since so many codes have changed how energy efficient is that home? So you're getting a lot of unknowns. But when you know what the knowns are with your new home, you're so much more empowered to sell. So I like to say home tech is the new sizzle, so why wouldn't we sell it? So looking at how we can incorporate technology into our story and understanding what is built in can differentiate from resale. I don't see enough builders incorporating technology as part of their story, and I have a perfect example. One of my builders, when I was with about 7 years ago, we went through and we implemented an entire home tech. We were a little bit ahead of, I think, most of the market, adding in and creating an entire brand for a home technology package. What happened was sales didn't know how to sell it. So the buyer had all this extra product in, which we didn't add, very much add to the price. The leadership team said, let's just build it in. Sales didn't know how to sell it. So the buyer didn't know how to use it. So then we found out we were putting on all this equipment into the home that was just sitting there. So then the leadership team said, well, why are we going to spend this money? We'll go ahead and save it. We'll pull it out. And they took down the smart home program. And I, of course, was devastated because I thought it was really cool. But now fast forward, more and more customers are saying, but I'm expecting it now. They didn't maybe weren't expecting it. It would have been a delight to delight the customer, but we also weren't educating them on how to enjoy that delight, right? So think about what that new expect is. how home safety and tech are new specs for young renters. So we also have to be thinking about, a lot of people renting, and the multifamily industry offers a completely different experience, and they're, in many cases, more technologically advanced how they're thinking about embedding technology. So when that buyer leaves the multifamily world and they go to buy, they're going to think, oh, well, I had a video camera in my apartment, or I had these special lockers for my Amazon gifts. They're creating these new expectations, and maybe they're just small things, but we're not even thinking about them. So I like us to think about the multifamily market. And then the Amazon life, I don't know how many times Mr. and Mrs. Amazon drop off deliveries to me, but how do we prepare in a better way to accommodate that? Because I have packages just out all day long. If anybody were to stock my house, or probably most of our houses in here, they could get away with some pretty good goods. So we're not thinking through how to effectively fix that problem. I also like to talk to silent signage. So this is how you're going to sell in your model and sell through some of these programs. This is one I worked on last year with Stone Martin Builders out of Alabama. We brought on a partnership with Deco. They're great, love them, and they worked with us on building a program so that we could put in their switches and their outlets, and then we work with Safe Streets, which is another third party that created the actual implementation program. So here, I got to say, hey, we can put the program together and market it and create a voice for it, but now we had a system to execute. So we're setting up their Street Smart appointment to learn, it's like a Geek Squad, to learn all of the equipment. At contract, they're already getting that date on the calendar, and then we're following up until it happens. So it's much more successful. Then we demo, when we know it can be successful, we demo the product with what I call silent signage. So it's signage that just speaks, gives you a little bit of insight, and also is a great follow-up for the sales conversations. So we had Alexas in the home, that was part of their program, and in each specific room, we were creating lifestyle moments. So for like a little boy's room, we had like Alexa make it story time, right, in a little boy's room, or we had take it down a notch in the primary. So creating these rooms and these spaces for people to then interact with the technology, understand it, see the branding, get the home connected, talk about it at contract, fulfill it, enjoy it. Other ways to think about would be like your HERS ratings. I did this with another builder where we were talking very specifically when you walked in the home and you saw the thermostat information, we already had signage there saying, did you know how much you could save in this home? And we calculated it for every model. And we typically had 4 or 5 models per community because we believed in demoing the product. So that really set us apart, because you would walk in any other model and nobody else had that information. So again, just thinking about the energy efficiency of that builder and really trying to sell through that product, as well as we had the Home IQ program with all of the other bells and whistles similar to the Home Connected program. But creating marketing, creating a voice on the website, creating a sales story for your sales team, and then demoing it with that silent sales. Another way I like to add in silent signage, this can be what I call wayfinder signage. So if you're walking in between models or walking from a parking space to the model, you can slowly start to pepper in what differentiates you. And that can talk to your structural features, your technology, and what just really sets you apart. You could also put these things in the home. So if I had some more granular ones that would talk about linear square footage in a closet. Nobody talks about it. Let's talk about how big a square, your closet is for those Costco hauls, because I know how I have those, right? So thinking about linear square footage and letting people think about how do you make a closet a very important part of your conversation. Lots of ways to use signage. And then demonstrate, demonstrate, demonstrate. I just think there's nothing you can't demonstrate when I was talking about down to the thresholds. With our sales teams, we try to train them after you've gotten the information. We have such a deep conversation with the buyer that once they go to tour the model, they're now excited, because you're not just, hey, yep, my model's, there's the door right there. Come back if you have any questions, right? We don't want that kind of experience. We're trying to sell them a 6-figure home. So we're also all looking at how do we demo things like the side yards, the lot lines, the backyards, going outside and saying, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, come here. Okay, this is where your yard's going to end. And over here, this is about where your neighbor's yard's going to be. And from back here, you wanted to be close to the school. You can see it's just right over the hill. Oh, and in a dog park, you can see it from here. When you go out and you say, come with me, and you walk the full lot, you're showing them that concierge service, right? And real estate agent may or may not do that because, again, they don't maybe know everything that your sales team should know about the area. Everything from thresholds to window seals. We even demonstrate just showing like the thickness of, if we have an upgraded window system, showing how easily they open and talking about the window. UV, if it removes the UV lighting, things of that nature. All of those are selling points. And if the other builders aren't doing it, then why can't you? Closet storage, home health. That is one of the rising things that people are wanting, but again, not a lot of builders are delivering on home health, which can be from antimicrobial countertops to specific air filtration systems, but that will be another piece that we can be adding more care when we're thinking about the homes. And then discussing noise, understanding how your insulation works. Again, if you've got kids upstairs, how's your insulation? Because I've got 4 kids that are running around, and I need to understand if I'm going to have a quiet space or if I have a noisy space to put those 4 kids, right? All of that is part of demonstrating your home. Also, this were a couple snapshots where we actually, with one of my builders, we did full videos of all these things I'm talking about that were used for both sales and the construction teams to train anybody that came on board. Because we were like, the construction knows how to demo the house, sales has to know to demo it exactly the same way. And sometimes you'll get that buyer that's been in construction and they have the harder questions. We want them to be able to know that house inside and out. So now we talked about some of the sales side. This all ties together. These are all passion areas. A little bit about digital marketing. This is where we're going to pull them into the conversation. So when we're looking at how we're going to attract new home buyers, this is a very classic flywheel. I've used it on several presentations over the last couple of years. And this just is a good reminder, if you're not in marketing, of all the different aspects that we're thinking about, how we're trying to delight, attract, engage, and really ultimately delight. Think if we can lead our day with delight, how do you do light, add delight, and get someone to respond to something that you weren't expecting. We're doing a better job working towards delight, and how are we growing with our customers through the process and through the relationship. And if we're keeping that top of mind, we're thinking about how all of our marketing is humming basically the same chorus, from our apps, through the website, through all the digital experiences we're purchasing. And then think about how can we have home attributes help with our storytelling. So for example, that Deco example, when I worked with them, their team had some great marketing. Well, then I'm asking all these vendors immediately when we have a new vendor, I say, do you have any marketing? Because I want to take that and I want to see if I need to either brand or add on to the message, or if can I just take the asset, can I put it on my YouTube channel? Can I now create emails and text messages with links to video? Where all can I put on my social media channel? I have to start to think about the omni-channel of all the different ways I can start to take that storytelling about my brand, about my experiences, about my vendors, and about why my house is better, and push it through those marketing funnel channels. And then I love this slide because I think this is important really for anybody, just to kind of be aware and to think about how our consumer world has changed. Is I like to think of, if we could almost put an air tag on our back and think of every time we interact with a brand or something we're looking at, you may see an ad and you didn't do anything. Then you may see the ad again and you may go ahead and click on it. And now you may get retargeted that ad. And now you may get an email from a third party that knows somehow that you saw the ad. And there is a lot of big brother out there in the marketing digital world, which also makes it challenging for us marketers to keep it all straight. But if you really followed everybody's engagement with the brand, it's kind of like a fly trapped in a box, because we can come in and out of all of these feelings of where we're just trying to first discover the brand all the way to getting through to buying a home. For example, we're trying to attract, we're trying to get that brand, we're trying to educate, we're trying to move through these processes, but I may stop, I may go back to discovery because I'm not sure I was sold on the value of your home. So really our behavior, if we really had that air tag on our back, kind of following us is like a fly in a box. So as home builder marketers and sales, we have to think to how to be very nimble. And if we're not getting somebody out of the box and through to the finish line, what are we missing? We're either not understanding, is it a marketing problem? Is it a product problem? Or is it how we're selling when I don't push people through that funnel? All right, so sales center strategies and technology. This is a fun one. So this is how do we take technology through the home buying experience in new ways. So one of my builders right now, Visionary Homes, we've just moved them to a full e-registration process. So now when you walk in, we use HubSpot. We just got HubSpot set up for them because that's a marketing machine for us. So you come in and you digitally can register a QR code through some very distinct signage that's in the sales office. And then the salesperson is also encouraging them to either do it or they'll do it for them, also believing in that concierge. So if somebody doesn't want to scan it and do it, pull it up on your phone and say, I'm going to register you right here on my phone. So we offer that as a service to get them registered. Also, we're now connected with InterNow for self-tours. So self-tours, I think, are only going to grow. I think these self-tours are going to be like checking a box like I also do email. It's going to have to be a must for everybody eventually in home building because more and more it's just gaining traction. The buyers are getting used to it. It doesn't have a lot of brand recognition across the entire real estate industry, but it's growing. So we also offer QR codes where they can go in and enter the home. And then they're also served up marketing through HubSpot because it's all connected. And I get that registration pushed into HubSpot all digitally, even if somebody isn't in my model. So what makes a sales center simply better? Again, the image here, thinking hospitality first. And I just challenge builders as a whole to think about how does your brand value world-class service? So how are we marketing something with an average selling price, and this varies by market, but just on average $400K plus, but a one-night stay at the Ritz-Carlton on average might be $1,500. And are we treating buyers in the same manner, right? If I go to the Ritz, I feel special, I get a lot of attention, yes ma'am, how can I help you? Versus if I'm walking in to buy a $4 or $5 or $6 or $700,000 home, and yeah, go ahead, our model's open, love to see if you have any questions. Very different. So I want to see our industry move more towards that Ritz-Carlton experience. So your brand speaks volumes upon entry. How does your sales office show up is super important. Thinking about guest space, guest flow, kind of the feng shui. Does it feel comfortable or does it look like you don't want me to sit here very long? That's also something to think about. Thinking of, are there self-service options? So I always build a sales center thinking there may be someone with a guest and there may be a guest waiting for that salesperson. So how are they able to walk through and do some self-service, education, stay engaged, play with the technology while they're waiting if we don't by chance have two people in that office? Thinking about how we can demonstrate how that new house is better with the right information, the right education, having options, digital and paper. Well, I said paper is old. Some people still like paper. I actually still like paper because I leave it out and I kind of come back to it because my world's so digital. So think about that. I know Shay said they went completely paperless. I'm like, there may be some buyers that don't like that, but they do have an option for you to print. Having a design center in office or not, I think design centers are moving more to digital, and I'll be curious in 10 years from now if we still have them because we're having more and more options to make things digital in that space. And then can we just think through all these little white glove touches because the buyer deserves it. Here's just a few examples, a little show and tell. So this was a active adult community I helped design about 5 years ago. And again, when they come in, it doesn't necessarily feel like, yes, we spent a lot of money on this location, but we knew we were going to be here for about 7 years, and we knew that we had enough product that we're going to be selling, so it made sense. And we wanted the buying experience to feel special. So coming in, they're greeted from a reception desk, thinking that hospitality first. Very clean lines. We thought through the scent. We thought through how the seating is. You don't see it in all of the photos, but very, very clean. Here's a couple others. We thought through technology, thought through how does that buyer explore if they're in self-discovery mode, or how are they enticed to sit on some of the soft. We have a lot of soft seating. We made sure to think about height of counters, how deep, how wide are the seats, and really just being comfortable. We don't have to make it a cold experience. Also, here's another experience another builder of ours worked on where we said, why not create almost a movie experience where we could showcase some of the virtual homes. You sit down, we could feature some of the gourmet kitchens and things of that nature rotating on the screen, especially when we had events. So when you have events there, we're not having everybody tour at night. We could have some of those self-tours running on some of those larger screens. Here's my newest baby. I just built this with Brightland Homes in Colorado, where the division president said, I want no hard acrylic signs in office, so everything is digital. So we moved all of the maps to digital, all the product displays. We have constant life stories in drone that is all syndicated through a product called Yodeck. So my marketing team can update all of this from one central location across all of our offices. So just again, thinking through a new way to have the experience, comfortable seating, very clean, inviting, inspirational, and we tie everything to the local vegetation. There's just a couple more pictures. Here's another one where we took a very small, more modular unit, and we thought, why not make it sexy? I always say, why not make a sales trailer sexy, right? How do we make it hospitable, warm, comfortable, bright, and also have technology and a mixture of those education components? All right, so now moving on to the model home, another area super passionate about, because now we're demoing the product, right? Why wouldn't we have a fantastic, memorable model experience? Let's talk through some best practices here. I like to, again, think about retail mindset the whole way. And we know that the female demographic is driving a lot of these decisions. Yes, especially in my house. My husband says, whatever Jennifer wants, just make sure I get some cool technology in the mix. So remembering and thinking about how the females walk through retail and how we like to touch and see all of the options and lighting, all of that affects our purchase and how we're gonna be really drawn into it. So I like to think of the model in the same way. So why does merchandising matter? I like to say it can absolutely be our win over resale. Why? Because an old home has baggage. One of my division presidents loves to give the fingernails and carpet conversation. Like, why would you want somebody else's fingernails in your carpet? It irks me out every time I hear him say that, but he's true. So regardless of how pretty a resale home can be, it comes with its humans' baggage. They have their pictures on the wall. They may have some trash. They may not have a tidy teen. They may have closets that they've just kind of hoarded stuff and they don't have time to clear it out, where our models have the opportunity to be everything that resale is not. And our new home design can offer thoughtful feng shui. So even when I walk into a room, do you ever walk into a room and you think, furniture just feels off? And I think about, where am I gonna walk? Or does a table, I did this the other day where I was walking through a model and I was mentoring the marketing team, and I said, when you have a table right near the walkway, it now makes the room feel too small, like you can't have a table there. But just by moving it, it opens up the energy of the space and makes it start to feel bigger. So I always tell my sales and my marketing, and really anybody, so if you walk a model and it feels like you shouldn't have an ottoman there or a lamp there, or maybe it needs a lamp there, we should talk about it because we should fix it. Counter space, we have more by today's design overall. Curated memory points is one of my favorite things to do, is to ever walk through a home and say, oh, I really hated that green room. Well, now all I can associate with that house is that green room. But if you, on the opposite, say, oh, I just loved that kitchen with those, very particular pendant lights and that backlighting across those cabinets, now I'm going to remember that house for that memory point, for whatever that feature was. So every time I create a model, I always say, what's going to be our memory point? What's our one feature that we want to just stick out? Is it special trimmed wall? Is it special paint? Is it a special lifestyle moment we're going to curate? But we want to walk away going, I know what's in that model. Even if we have to, tag it to it, we know it's in that model. Thinking about what's local and on trend will also appeal in the design, trying to bring in local pizza shops or local artwork. Trying to make it local is very, very, very good to do. Having clean and new pantries and closets, and helping the buyer imagine versus become distracted, right? Don't distract them with the ugly bedding or the wall that the designer just loved, the green. And we also don't have the trash and things of resale. A couple model don'ts. These are just what I would recommend to stay ahead of the game. It's not clutter counters. First thing I will do when I walk into a model is if I go in the kitchen and I see candy bowls and Kleenex boxes, and it's like they tried to create like a convenience store counter, just take it off, because the buyer immediately will not remember that island. If you have that island covered in, but I've got 3 lenders and they all brought me their brochures, and I've got this one on warranty, and then I've got my floor plans and all my pieces. I don't see that island. I don't remember if it was big. I don't remember if it was small. I don't remember what shape it was. So don't do that. Not having food in fridges, pay for a mini fridge. Don't use a bedroom as a sales office. It will distract the buyer. The buyer won't think of it as a room. So many times people will say, well, that was only a 3-bedroom house. No, it was a 4-bedroom. Well, where was the 4th bedroom? Well, it's where you met the salesperson. They'll immediately cut it off and not see it as a space. So I always say, try to move it into your garage if at all possible. And don't have a loud design room, a loud design like I mentioned. Love to think through a buyer story. So every time you create a model, who's your buyer? Create a faux family. Have fun with it, but make sure it ties. Like you should go back with your team and know, who did we build this community for? Who's the product for? Now let's create a faux family. Is it a large family, small family? Is it someone just moving in? Whatever it is, figure out what that story is, and we identify them. We name them, we give them activities, because we're gonna curate that house so it feels legit, it feels real, it feels like something that a family of 4 with Drew and Rebecca at the helm could live in. And then we think about, what do they do when they're living in that community? Because that's gonna also tie to their story. So we do research. We do research on all the parks, everything in the area, to really tie that house to that area, especially if you have so much migration across the country now. Make sure people are feeling tied to where they're moving. And then we have a design story. Lots of stories here. Your buyer story and your design story. Your design story goes down to, what's that theme in the house? You walk through a house and you've got purple pillows here, and then you walk in the other one and you've got maroon in here, and then you've got yellow upstairs. Again, I'm starting to maybe not create a synergy in the house. There's a little bit of that feng shui going on, but be purposeful, and it's got a little bit more of the same theme going on that also complement your trends. So when I work with very good interior designers, we always say, what's our design story, our color story as well? That's a picture of the color story as an example. And then thinking of your scent story. Resale could have a scent story, right? And are you purposefully thinking through, the scent's hard because it's very subjective, but I want my homes to smell on point and be memorable. It's again, hospitality does it. Ever walk into the Aria Hotel or the Ritz, there's a reason why they all have their own scent program. I think scents are important. And then a music story. How do we infiltrate our experiences with the right music for the right tone, whether it needs to be upbeat or something relaxing? I think it's important to think through.
It's interesting, we did a study once on light.
Yes.
Because light can be different wavelengths, right? You can have rich red light, you can have a really bright white, almost blue light.
Yep.
And grocery stores like Whole Foods have a recipe for every single department what the frequency of light needs to be. Because vegetables look better and meat looks better and fish looks better with different frequencies of light. So we actually did a study with light in model homes to determine what was the light recipe for every room, because it turns out that spas have a certain light frequency. You walk into a spa, it's not bright white, blaring like 5,000 Kelvin. No, that's not the frequency. So we said, okay, we're gonna do the master retreat or the owner's retreat in one frequency. We're doing the kitchen in another frequency. We're gonna do each room in different frequencies. It had a profound effect on how people valued the home, even though it was the same home. But if you lit it all at one frequency, you said, well, what's your lighting strategy? I don't know, we buy light bulbs at Costco and we make sure they're all turned on, right? Yeah. That is a lighting strategy, like it or not, right? But what we did is we had a recipe then, we created this optimum recipe, and you could actually change the perceived value of the home just by changing the light in each room. So when you talk about a music recipe and a scent recipe, It's really putting all of those things
that.
together, and it's a recipe of every sense. So you're creating the full sensory perception of your value.
Yeah, I love that. On lighting, even colors exude a different mood. So blue is calming, which is why when you're on like a Delta flight, you ever notice how the blue lights come on? It's to keep everybody relaxed while you're taking off. So there's psychology to all of these things, right? It's crazy.
So Spirit Airlines should probably have a red light or something like that, right? I mean, just to reflect their brand and the experience.
Yeah. All right, so the power of integrations, I'm just going to wrap up here. Trying to think, how do you tie a bow? I love just like, how do we tie a bow on all of these things that we're going to do? It's really important to think about integration. And this is something that sales and marketing needs to do together. So when we're thinking about what's in the bones of these homes, how do we co-op, partner with like a Delta, a Shaw, Zip Systems, Energy Star? Again, looking for those opportunities. Do you have the marketing collateral? I will put signage, what's called like POP, point of purchase type signage, or those silent signs, in very limited use. But is there an opportunity to have some kind of a display or something just really, really well put together on a wall next to a refrigerator to highlight some of those things? Those are great. The silent sales I mentioned would be part of your content strategy. Just again, the resale home isn't selling any of those things. It's what you see, it's what you open, it's what's there. You're doing a lot of self-education on what's in that house. And so resale is missing on that. And then self-touring. Resale, it's not really readily available for resale yet. I think some of my friends in self-touring would love to get into that market with some of these larger real estate firms. But right now, it's a way that we can say, hey, we know our model's set. There isn't a family we're trying to get out, so you can tour, so you could do it at any time. And that's another advantage for us from a marketing standpoint. And then thinking about the systems that integrate for aftermarket pieces. So just anything that we can integrate. A lot of these programs down here below, Novi Home, which is an app that you can use for sales and from the consumer's perspective to like your homes, to see listings of current homes, to track the progress of your home. Those integrate with InterNow. InterNow can let somebody in the door, then it can push a message to Novi Home, which tells you to download the app, and now you can follow these homes. So there's systems in here, they're not replacing sales, they're just giving the buyer more of that on-demand experience, that digital experience, and we're trying to be the concierge, so in every way, shape, or form they want to engage, we're there. We don't miss a beat. All Mine is another example. They've worked with several builders, and they are offering the shoppable experience, so that if you wanted to walk a model and you love that sofa, could you purchase it? And there's some aftermarket revenue there for the builder as well. So there's a lot of integrations here. HomeKey also works with the builders and the buyer post-contract. So all the things that they're going to need to curate and keeps documents and helps them really figure out what their home buyer journey looks like, because it doesn't stop when they're a contract, right? It's just begun. So it helps keep them organized with a lot of aftermarket thoughtfulness, and they can work with the builders on a program, and then Energy Star, again, what they have a ton of marketing out there that you can help promote. So it's being aware that we have the opportunity to differentiate and to use these co-op partnerships in their entirety. And then I'll end with my favorite Disney quote, do what you do so well that they will want to see it again and bring their friends, right? Word of mouth marketing is the best ROI out there. Want lots of that. And I really do feel that today's homes do a better bones. We just have to know it. We've got to explain it. We really got to show and tell it. So.
Very good. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, we only have about 1 minute and 26 seconds left before it's a very sad time, because it's the end of the educational sessions. It's the last time I'm going to be able to spend any time with you all. But I was wondering, does anybody have a question for Jennifer? Because I've got a question for her if you guys don't. But anybody have a question for Jennifer in our last minute and a half? All right, well, I'm going to give you a pop quiz. We had, and you can pick whichever one you want, but we had a company from FlowGuard talk about the fact that plumbing systems are failing all around the country because of the chemistry of water. It's making copper fail, making PEX fail, that you really need to understand what the chemistry is and design the right system around it. So if you do that, you can really prove to people that you've got a home that's not going to have a catastrophic problem later on. We had Reem and Johns Manville come and talk that if you can use some of the new insulating techniques and new energy efficient appliances, you can get Energy Star ratings, which can save a family $25,000 over the course of a mortgage, which is enough to send a kid to college, right? And then we had Levin come and talk about kind of their wireless switches that allow you to put switches everywhere and convert switches, and in the future change where you want switches, or if you want to switch one-way switch, become a three-way switch, et cetera, right? You can do all that kind of stuff. Pick one of those, okay? Don't care which one. What would you do to tell a story about those that people would care about?
I would immediately go to, I mean, any of them. Okay, I'd probably pick Levin just because I'm immediately with the plumbing. I was thinking I would do a display, some kind of a storyline underneath the sink and make that a conversation. Maybe use that.
Don't you think consumers would care if they knew that there was a possibility if they bought some other home in 5 or 10 years, they might have to rip out all the plumbing in their home, have a huge, $10, $20, $30,000 expense, unexpected?
Yeah.
I think that would matter.
I'd almost immediately think of creating something that almost has an arrow, like if you're going to talk about the plumbing in the kitchen, like you've got to see what's under here, or understanding what's going on in your plumbing. You could almost do a story there, directing them to a place where you could have a plumbing conversation for sure. It's just you have to point it out, create again that self-education moment. So for any of those, what's the technology to get that self-education moment, and then make sure the salesperson went through that kitchen. Oh, did you see the information on the plumbing under the sink? Did you look under the sink? Whatever. Just saying if that would be maybe one place that you might have that conversation.
I know. We'll create a leak under the sink, and there'll be water running out, and everybody will see it, and then they'll ask, hey, did you know you have a leak? Yeah, we built it just like the builder down the street. Now, the other sink, you see, does have it. Come on. Well, that would work perfectly, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, and my time with you ends. I want to thank all of you for being such a great group of people. You were so attentive, listening, open to new ideas. I really enjoyed it. If you like these kind of sessions in this education, tell your friends, tell your peers. These events happen twice a year. Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing your experience. It's so valuable for builders to see what other builders are doing and learning. And thank you all again. Have a wonderful and safe travel back home also later this evening.